Hello, my name is Fanula and I live on the shores of Carlingford Lough and I'm a storyteller. So today I'm going to tell you two stories and they'd be suitable for all ages because sometimes the stories I tell really are from adults rather than boys and girls. So the first story is about three wishes. And in our culture, we often believe that sometimes saints would go among us and if we were kind to them, they would grant us wishes. And therefore, you had to be kind to everybody who came to your door. It was a good way of making sure people treated each other well. So there was a couple called Paddy and Patricia, and they lived in a bit of a farm, as we'd say here. That means there wasn't much going to it, in the middle of the Mourne Mountains. Now, they weren't great, at the farming business. Well, Paddy often got the crops in later, and he often didn't feed the crops when they didn't do that well. And Patricia, well, her skill wasn't really in homemaking. The cottage was quite often very cold and the food was very sparse. She wasn't great at the baking either, so she wasn't good at that. So quite often they ended up just living on bread and dripping, as they were lucky. So one day, Paddy was out in the field and he was getting ready to come in for the night when a man appeared at the top of the lane, an old man, and he was hobbling down. And Paddy was thinking, what's he doing up here in the middle of nowhere? And the man caught up to him and he said, would you be able to put me up for the night? I was out walking and I've gone too far and now I'm too tired to go back. So Paddy said, well, of course we'll put you up for the night. And he brought him in. Now, we haven't got much, but you're welcome to share what we have. So the old man sat at the table and Patricia was trying to feed the fire and this eventually produced some bread and dripping. And they sat and they had the bread and dripping by the fire, which was beginning to warm up at last. And the chat was good. Now, the old man, he was looking around and he could see that this was a very poor farmhouse and that they could do with a bit of a hand. So the next morning, as he was leaving, he went over to Paddy in the field and he said to him, Paddy, I think you could do with a bit of a hand. So I'm going to grant you 3 wishes. Now, you must use these wishes very wisely. Don't squander them because there won't be any more. Think of what you could do to have a better life. Paddy scratched his head and he thought, yeah, that's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And then the old man said to him, maybe don't tell Patricia till you know what you're doing. I don't know why he said that, but he did. So Paddy said, well, that's fine, I'll think about it. So it went on for 3 days, him thinking about it, digging in the fields and digging, and I know he must be putting spuds in. Patricia was looking out the window and she kept seeing him standing with his hand on the shovel and reaching like this and thinking and thinking and thinking. So when he came in, she said to him, now, Paddy, what are you thinking about? You keep stopping in the middle of your digging and you look as if you're thinking about something. And Paddy was looking around and it was a really cold evening and the fire wasn't doing anything and there was more bread and dripping. And he thought to himself, and he thought, and he said, I just wish I had a big, big black pudding to eat tonight. Like a flash, a big black pudding appeared on the table. Now, it was ginormous. And Patricia looked at him in shock and she said, what was that? And he told her about the wishes. Well, she went mad. You've had those wishes and you didn't tell me about those wishes. And she went on and on and on. How could you treat me like that and not tell me about the wishes? And in the end, he got so fed up and said, I wish that black pudding was up your nose. And there it was, hanging out of her nose. Oh, God, she was trying to talk around the black pudding that was in her mouth. And she was screaming and shouting. And he couldn't listen to it any longer. And he was pulling and pulling and hauling at this black pudding. Not a sign of it moving. So in the end, he said, I wish that black pudding was out of your nose. And out of her nose. And there it was, 3 wishes gone, and all they had to show for it was a snot-covered black pudding. Well, Paddy went running up the stairs. He thought, I'm sick of this. He threw a few things in the bag. He grabbed it and he ran. And he ran and he ran. And the last anybody heard from him was that somebody saw him in New York. And he looked well, he looked as if he was doing well, and he looked very happy. Now, Patricia, well, she hung on for a while longer in the farmhouse. I don't think she ate the snuck-covered black pudding at all, really. And she survived for a while, and then she decided it was too hard to work. She sold the farm and she went to live in Hilltown. And I do believe she met a very, very nice lady there, and they lived happily ever after. So that's one story about wishes. And this is another story about wishes. And it's a Hindu story. So once upon a time, there was a man who traveled the earth looking to find himself, looking to find what made him feel complete. He explored all parts of the world. He smoked cannabis, he smoked ayahuasca or drank ayahuasca or whatever they do to those things. He dabbled in all kinds of religions, and nothing fed the soul. And one day he was out on his travels and he got very, very tired, and he lay down at the base of a tree. And he didn't know that he had lain down at the bottom of the wishing tree. And if you lay at the bottom of the wishing tree, all you had to do was think about a wish. You didn't even have to say it, and it would happen. So he was lying there and he was thinking, I'd love a lovely big house just here, right here. A house appeared, a big 3-story house, and gosh, it looked beautiful. And he couldn't believe his luck. He was thinking, that's wonderful. Now, if only I had a wife that I could meet in that beautiful house. Just like that, a woman appeared at the door and she was calling him home for his dinner. And he thought to himself, I'd really like to eat and have a full tummy before I met my new wife. A big banquet appeared before him, and he ate and he ate. There was every kind of delicacy. And he lay there and he thought, now I wish I had somebody to feed me, because I have to go all the way to the end of the table to get that. It'd be nicer if somebody was just bringing it up to me. And somebody appeared and was feeding him. And when he was really full, he thought to himself, I'll have a wee lie down before I go to meet the wife. And as he lay there, he thought, this is the kind of tree that you'd think you could wish to see a dragon. And lo and behold, a dragon jumped out of the tree. And as he lay there, he thought, and then the dragon would kill you. And that's what happened. The dragon ate him. And there he was. He'd got all his wishes and he'd squandered them too. 2 stories, very different stories, lots of wishes. And at the end, they didn't have anything. Except the woman had the house, and I hope she was very happy in that. And that's the end of my stories for today.